Welcome to Use Your Words Podcast. My name is Paul. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Use Your Words Podcast. I just want to give you a heads up before we dive into things that A, this is a little bit longer episode than our normal one. We try to keep under an hour, but this is a little bit longer. B, we are going to be talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse case, which means there's going to be some strong emotions from some people. And we're just going to be talking about kind of our reactions to some of the things brought up either by the defense or the prosecution, and just some of the things overall about the case. So just a heads up, that's what we'll be talking about. It's going to be a little bit longer, but other than that, thank you for listening. Go ahead and like, share this episode, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Use Your Words Podcast. Welcome to Use Your Words Podcast, where every time we have a serious conversation, all three of us are always fully engaged and pay attention.
Summer.
And then Josh is looking around like, what's going on?
I blinked out there for a second. Keep talking. I'll catch up.
You blinked out for a second. Great. You know, I miss Josh being here every week and randomly just looking around the room, just spacing out and then going, "Hey, Josh, what do you think about that? What was that? Could you repeat that whole last half hour?"
That or shopping, you know.
Yeah, that he was shopping for random things all the time.
Yep.
But I feel like our country, in a lot of ways, kind of. So I've been paying attention to Twitter ever since the Rittenhouse verdict came out, and it seems like a lot of America was doing the Josh over the trial.
Doing the Josh.
They might have had it on, or they might have watched the clips, or they might have read the summaries, but then everything goes by in the trial, and then they go, the white supremacist mass murderer who shot an automatic machine gun into a crowd of black people. And I'm like, did you, A, read anything about anything that happened, and B, what again did he shoot, and who did he shoot? Because you have celebrities not paying attention and just automatically making assumptions. So for those of you living completely in a bubble, if you're not aware, Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted on all counts in his trial. I mean, all counts across the board. And one count was even dismissed before the jury even went to deliberation. Mm-hmm. And that was the count of having the gun. Now, Mr. Johnson, do you know why he was acquitted of that account? So, fact, he was 17 when he had the gun. Okay, so that is a point of fact.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I do know that. But I guess the only things that I can say I do know offhand right now is that he did not come with it from Illinois.
Okay.
It was given to him from, so wasn't it a friend in Kenosha?
Yeah, so apparently he wanted to have the friend buy the gun for him, and then said I would pay it back. That's a point of contention, and apparently that friend is still up for charges. Mm-hmm. So there's still some things going on with that. Yeah. But yeah, so in other words, he got a gun from somewhere, but he did not bring it from across the border. You are correct. There's actually still a lot of people on Twitter that are saying he brought it across the border.
State lines.
Yeah.
It's so aggravating. I just find it funny and how I'm sure they would be all up in arms about misinformation about all this stuff, but then they're okay with spreading this misinformation.
Yeah. So why was the gun thing thrown out? Why was the gun charge thrown out? Do you know?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I just remember hearing that it got dropped, and that was probably the only thing that they would have had on him as far as finding him guilty on.
Okay. So, prosecution offered no argument that it be dropped, actually.
Wow.
Isn't legal?
It is not a short-barreled shotgun or a short-barreled rifle, yes.
Either by barrel or by overall length?
Correct.
All right. And then count 6 is dismissed.
So essentially, what all that is that just quickly happened here, Wisconsin, we have a very odd thing. Okay, so in Wisconsin, there's a law. Any person under 18 years of age who possesses or goes armed with a dangerous weapon is guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. Okay? That's how the law starts. However,
Yeah.
there are provisions to this law. If they are over the age of 16 and do not meet any of the other criteria, then they are not under that law.
Really?
What is part of that law? Well, as you just heard them talking about real quickly here, the length of the barrel. If it's not a short barrel shotgun or rifle, then
It's in the clear.
then they're in the clear. If they're not poaching while hunting, then they're in the clear. So, because of the way our law is written, if he's
away with
under 18 but above
Above
16 and not carrying a short barrel rifle or shotgun
Yeah.
and not poaching while hunting, and there's one more criteria to it which I don't have up in front of me, then he's okay.
That's kind of weird.
And the reason they did that was for that way, like someone who is, 17, 18, 16, 17, and who maybe wanted to go hunting, they could have a weapon with them to go to the hunting grounds. But they never specified in the law that they had to be on the way to a hunting ground or on the way to go hunting or something like that. It just said they could carry it with them.
Wow.
And that's why it was dismissed. So,
That's
Wisconsin law is very weirdly.
Wishy-washy with that.
I wouldn't say wishy-washy. It's just there's a nice big exception in there, and
Right.
I would be. What I was going to say. I would not be surprised if in the next couple of years, if they try to shore up that little hole in the law.
Oh,
on
for
how that
sure.
happened.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I could understand. That is kind of bizarre.
Yeah. Now that
is a
being
bizarre
said,
law.
it would have been only a misdemeanor if that was still been in the mix.
Right.
Which, do you know how long maximum that could have been?
No. No idea.
Just take a guess. What's the max
For a misdemeanor?
for a misdemeanor? What's the max time that they could go to jail for that?
A couple of years.
9 months.
Oh. That's nothing.
Yeah.
I guess that. What? Yeah. No, I guess. Okay. That's. Yeah.
So they just tossed that out.
Yeah.
They're just like, nope, we're done.
Not worth it.
We're done. So, but that being said, let me ask you this, Mr. Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
What was your overall reaction when you heard this?
Well, when I heard it at work. I was not. I wasn't. Like. I don't know. I was happy about it. I was glad.
Okay.
But then also felt probably very outnumbered. At least for where I was.
You felt
at.
very outnumbered?
Probably. I don't know. I didn't care to go see it. I know a couple people are very vocal about not being in agreement of it, but I was just like, well, I'm glad it happened as it did. 'Cause, I mean, I don't know. I just believe it was self-defense.
So you do believe it was self-defense?
Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Here's why I say that.
Why do you say that?
They have to convince you that Joseph Rosenbaum was going to take that gun and use it on the defendant because they know you can't claim self-defense against an unarmed man like this.
What?
You lose the right to self-defense when you're the one who brought the gun.
So during the prosecution he was saying, oh, since you brought the gun, you lose the right to self-defense.
That the whole purpose of having a gun is to have an advantage on somebody from killing you.
Right, and that's why explicitly I cut that piece of it out to bring it because I wanted your reaction on that, because I heard that and I was like, wait a minute. So you're telling me if I get a concealed carry,
You can't use it.
that I lose the right to self-defense because I brought a gun with me?
Yep. Yeah.
It's-
There's no point in it.
It's an asinine argument.
Yes. It's horrible. Okay. And I mean, like one thing, like a scenario that I had heard mentioned also was, I mean, you think about like all the women that might have concealed, or not all of them, I'm just the women that do have concealed carry. Which, one, it doesn't have to be a gun. It can be something else. It doesn't have to be a firearm. That's
Right.
just, I mean, I guess when you think of concealed carry, that's what you think of, I guess. But it's like, think of like all of the things that could happen to women from unarmed men. Like the case being brought up of like rape or just stuff like that.
Right.
Like if you took that gun away from them in that situation, they're not going to be able to defend themselves. Not all of them. Some of them, sure. I
Yeah.
don't know. It depends on, you know.
But it's a nice equalizer.
Yes. It's something to say, don't screw with me or you're getting messed up.
Yeah, and it's an equalizer of, hey, you got a guy who works out like 24/7. He's a gym rat.
Yeah.
And he goes on a roid rage and goes and beats up, a woman working,
Yeah.
wherever, or someone jogging I can't even say jogging now because of the other case. Jeez Louise.
Oof. Whoa.
The case that ruled this week, the week of Thanksgiving. We'll get into that in a minute. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
But anyways,
what you're talking about.
there's a whole jogging meme that came up beyond that. But anyways, a woman going jogging, someone tries to attack her, let's say the roid guy, he's built,
Big,
he's
strong
strong.
guy.
What's she going to do besides scream a little bit?
Right.
That's
Hope
at least
somebody hears her.
yeah, that at least is an equalizer. And I agree, just because you have a gun does not take you away from self-defense. Doesn't take, no, in fact, self-defense is the way. And the people are going crazy just going like, well, now this sets up new precedent that, people can be shot while they're protesting. No, it doesn't.
No.
It means that if you attack someone or you point a gun at them, then there is a possibility that this could go wrong for you. And probably you should think about that before you do these things.
And that's the one thing. I mean, you look at everybody else that had interacted with Kyle throughout that night. I mean, was the one guy that apparently did like the jump kick to him or whatever. He wasn't shot.
Yeah.
He got past. He's still alive. But it's like the cases where it's like either it's where it is a life or death potentially situation. It's like, well, what do you do? I mean, yeah, all right, yeah.
When you were standing 3 to 5 feet from him with your arms up in the air, he never fired, right?
Correct.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him, with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct.
Boom.
And I get it. That's perfectly. Now, to be that guy, then
He's lucky.
Well, he went on to an interview then afterwards, and said, "No, I never pointed my gun."
Yeah, you would.
But
but
but when he was on the stand, he said, "Yes, I did point my gun."
So you screwed yourself over right there. If that was a lie, which looking at the image, it's pretty darn close, I would say, to pointing at Kyle in the image of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't looked over all the images, but the fact that he testified that yes, he had the gun pointed at him,
You screwed yourself right there.
That is where then self-defense comes into play.
And the thing with the thing that I thought was hilarious on the prosecution side was when they were talking about Rosenbaum.
Yeah.
Saying that like in their argument, they're saying he wasn't within arm's reach of Kyle when he shot him, but yet when you saw the footage, I mean, he had a burn or whatever, and like gun barrel residue on his hand.
Yes, he
from
did.
grabbing the gun. So it's like, and at that point, that's when he was shot. So he clearly was within arm's reach.
Well, and that's where some people are trying to be a little pedantic about things.
Yeah.
They're like, was he in arm's reach of Kyle
Or the
gun?
barrel of the gun.
Yes. That's where some people are
Yeah.
trying to be a little pedantic.
Which I get.
Which,
it's not
if you want to do
surprising.
that, well, guess what? That's why he got away with the gun charge, because it wasn't a short barrel. It wasn't a short
Yeah.
rifle.
There you go.
It was a long rifle. So yes, technically, he might not be able to reach Kyle's body.
But as soon as he gets
grab
that
his
gun-
chest and pull him or something, or punch him.
Yeah.
But he was close enough to grab and interact with the gun and try to wrestle the gun away from him.
Yeah.
Now,
Yep.
don't get me wrong. There were multiple things at play here, multiple things that shouldn't have happened, but they did.
Oh, right.
And you can't change what happens.
No.
It's it's hindsight's 2020. Can't help it.
No.
Should Kyle have necessarily been out there with a gun around and doing things?
Right. I'm not crazy about that happening. But then at the same time, none of the riots should have ever happened in the first place anyways.
Right. I 100% agree. Well, and that's the other thing you hear also. It's like, oh, he had no reason to be up here.
Well, neither did anybody else destroying businesses
But
or livelihoods.
he actually did have something to do up here.
He does have family here.
His dad lives in Kenosha.
Yeah. So he
works in Kenosha.
Personal things. He is personally tied to
Yep.
Kenosha.
Yep.
It's not just like, oh, there's going to be people out there tonight causing trouble. Oh, well, let's go change that kind of thing.
Yeah, there was that.
It wasn't with. I wouldn't say it was with a malicious intent.
So, he at least has some connection to Kenosha. And then there was always the thing of, well, his mom drove him up with the gun and da-da-da. Well, first off, there's two lies right there. Lie number one is the fact that his mom works mostly second and third shift. So guess what? She was asleep.
Yeah.
She was asleep when Kyle drove up to Wisconsin because he worked during the day or something like that, and then stayed with his friend,
Yep.
who he got the gun from. Then went out, did all the fun stuff. You know how bad it is? That PolitiFact. You know PolitiFact, right?
I don't.
Okay, so they go around and they do all sorts of things and oh, how true is this? Blah, 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 right? Well, last year they did this whole thing about, all these things about Kyle Rittenhouse, and they're like, oh, no, Kyle did cross the border and stuff like that, right? They said all these things. Now they had to change stuff. So even they have to admit now that his mother did not bring him armed with a rifle to Kenosha. They have that at their false statement. They also say it's false that the claim that Rittenhouse crossed the state line with a gun before shooting.
Well, good.
So
That
that's
needs to be changed.
That's starting to happen where now, because of the result of the trial, that these things are starting to come across of hey, no, not happening.
Yeah. See, man, what? Yeah, there's a lot of things I feel like that the prosecutors said that I just. Well, one, I guess. I don't know. I hate to say it's their job, so they got to paint a nasty picture on this kid and try and convince people that he's guilty. But I also think the other part of with the whole Rosenbaum situation was, when Kyle was running, he did a quick turnaround and propped the gun up.
Yeah.
Obviously, he didn't shoot that time. He didn't shoot until it was within the cars and he was in, close range or whatever. In a threatening range, I would say, is when he shot. But I feel like if you're chasing somebody with a gun, one, you have a problem. That's not the smart thing to do. And once you were given a chance to back off, but you still pursue the situation, you're asking for trouble, unfortunately. But I don't know. There was that. There was the whole thing with the skateboard incident, saying it's just a skateboard. It's not, I guess, a terrible thing.
Yeah, but that could still be a weapon and that could be really deadly still.
That was I don't remember what the dude's name is. Like, well, I guess kids shouldn't ask their moms or parents or whatever for a skateboard because it's a deadly weapon. We should give our kids AR-15s instead. He shouldn't. Well, that was stupid to say. Because what there wasn't I can't remember where it was, but there was a guy attacked by a kid with a skateboard, and it showed he got knocked in the head with it, and then they showed image of this guy with his injuries afterwards, and his head was caved in, like he was still alive,
right? But
his head was caved in. I mean, he got screwed up with that. So probably would have died with another blow, or had he just been, left there. Thankfully, he was taken care of, but it's like. Skateboard has metal on it, for the trucks of it. So getting whacked in the head with that is fatal, I would say. But
yeah. And it's funny as like the trial went on and as people actually got to see the real evidence for themselves, because this was televised, all over, right?
Yeah.
And I'll admit I had it on in the background for sometimes while I was at work, just because, it was on and stuff was going.
Right.
Even the Young Turks, Anna Kasparian,
yeah.
she had to admit that she was wrong.
Yep.
She's like, she said, like, when she sat down and watched the actual evidence, the actual videos, she goes, these details matter, right? Who was chasing who matters. The gunshots by some other unidentified person, that matters. Especially if you're Rittenhouse and you're running away, and then you hear shots, and then Rosenbaum lunges towards him. Yeah. And what she's referring to is the video of Rosenbaum chasing after Rittenhouse. Yep. And then there's an unidentified shot, and that's when Rittenhouse turns and unloads, essentially.
Yep, that's when he does the shooting.
Yep. But before that, if you look at the very beginning, Rosenbaum is shouting, "Shoot me," and then he starts chasing Rittenhouse. I read some news articles that are like, the acquittal of Rittenhouse is going to put mental health advocacy back. And I was like, no, it's not going to put it back. Guarantee you that. But do you know why they said that?
Because Rosenbaum had just come out of it was like a mental... Psychiatric, yeah. Yep.
So they're saying because of that, that's going to push it back all these years. And I'm like, no. There's a difference between someone who needs some psychological help, needs some help on things, versus someone who does get out of a hospital and then they turn around and say, "Shoot me," and then chase after and lunge after someone.
Yeah.
Why the full thing of it? There's enough chaos where we're never going to know 100% everything that happened, unfortunately. I'm not celebrating like some people are that, he's dead. There's a lot of people going, "Oh, these people are dead." One was a pedophile. And they're like, "Oh, this is great." I'm like, no. I'm not happy about any of that. No. Rittenhouse, I don't know if you watched the testimony at all when he was on the stand. Did you watch that?
Yeah.
He's going to live with that for...
That's traumatic.
The rest of his life, and immediately after that happened, people were taking like screenshots of him crying and they were making fun of it. And they're like, like one person was like, "Oh, the
crocodile tears."
Well, there was that, but the one person was like, "The face Kyle makes when he meets his roommate Mark for the first night."
What?
And I was just like, implying that he's going to go to prison and get raped.
Oh,
that's what they were implying.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So they were doing that on Twitter. They're celebrating on Twitter, like, "Oh, look, his first night at jail with what he's going to do after he gets blah blah blah." And they go to that. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there going, "Hold on."
That was just
Someone was on giving testimony that doesn't give you the right to do that, regardless if you agree with them or not.
Yeah.
And regardless of whether you like them or not. And now that, he's been found innocent,
That's upsetting for a lot of people.
that was very upsetting for a lot of people. But that was also when this is now happening now. Apparently, he has lawyers looking into going after certain maybe news outlets and media outlets.
I would hope so.
They're calling him a white supremacist and all this stuff. Which, unfortunately, whenever you have something charged that's very politically charged, people are going to say stuff under the assumption that he's going to be found in the way that they want them to be found, whether that's innocent or guilty or whatnot, or however that be.
Yeah. And
then they go, oh, there's going to be things at the other end of this, and I'm going to be in trouble. Great.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, that was I don't know. That was one thing I guess that was like upsetting to hear as far as like the whole celebration side of Kyle being acquitted, or just that the deed was done was because it was like, well, the two guys that were killed was, the one was like, child molester or whatever.
Yeah.
The other one was a very violent, I guess, an abusive person. Like, they both had records that were not good. But, like, again, like you said, like, I'm not, by no means am I happy that any of them died. That's really, a really sad, sad it came to that, I suppose. Because I guess I don't want to look at it as, like, the people that they were involved with are better off without them kind of thing. Like, I don't. No, because I don't know, and I guess this is I don't know. I'm guessing this is more so when I look at it more under like a religious outlook or a Christianity way, where it's like you don't know anyone's like future. Like you can make assumptions based on the past, on like what could be done to happen. But I guess that's where I look at it as if, maybe they would have had a second chance. But, at this point, now there is no second chance kind of thing.
Right.
So, that's, you don't know what the rest of their life would have brought. Granted, they didn't have a good past, but, people can change, even though it was as messed up as it was. But... So yeah, I'm definitely not I'm not in celebration of any of the death that had happened, no matter what their background was. But yeah, yeah, it was. But then at the same time, I didn't, like the people that were thankfully protesting outside the courthouse, claiming that these men are heroes. From that night, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't say that either. But it was a really unfortunate situation. That is for sure. I don't know.
Yeah. So what was interesting also, and I know you don't, I don't keep up all the time with Twitter, but I do once in a while, right?
Yeah.
And there was more than one person who, when the trial started up,
yeah,
they go, wait a minute, the people that Rittenhouse killed were white? And they were being serious.
No, yeah.
Like, they thought from everything that they had been told from their family, their friends, and the news that he was black.
Yeah, yeah.
If you read, so do you know what The Independent is?
I've heard of it, but I didn't.
It's a newspaper in Great Britain.
Okay.
They originally reported after Rittenhouse was acquitted. Here, I'm going to read you the headline. Kyle Rittenhouse cleared of murder after shooting dead 2 Black Lives Matter protesters. Okay?
Okay.
They have like points of the story. Full story. Teenager who shot 3 black men with rifle found not guilty on all charges.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, wait a minute, hold on.
You're not even in the same country. Get out
and
of
people called it out right away. Paul
good.
Joseph Watson was like, I'm gonna need a fact check on the claim that Rittenhouse shot 3 black men independent. It's like, yeah.
Because that did not happen.
And, and then they responded back, making fun of them. Like, here are the 3 black guys Rittenhouse shot. And then it's the picture of the 3 guys that, were shot by Rittenhouse.
It showed an image of the 3 people that he shot, but it was the actual 3 people.
The actual 3 people. It's like, these are the 3 black people that Rittenhouse shot. What?
Can you tell me? Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay. So, a little colorblind there.
Oh, colorblind. That's racist. Don't you know?
Don't you know?
But, so just going through that whole thing, it was just like, oh, wow. Okay.
So they
we're
knew.
a little more. We're a little. Well, no, they. I don't know what they knew. Honestly, I don't know how that made it past the editorial board.
Yeah, I don't know either.
You would think someone like, because Independent is supposed to be kind of known to be, okay,
Right.
they're supposed to be pretty good.
That was just a clear.
By NewsGuard, they have a score of 100 of 100.
Oh wow, that's okay. Well,
So I just pulled up their
I'd have
score.
expected more from that. Then.
I just pulled up their score on NewsGuard to see what their rank was. They're 100 of 100. Obviously, they have since pulled that down and corrected it, but that was the original thing that went out. It's just like, okay, good
work.
No,
Good work, news.
yeah,
Not at all.
but
Oh man,
all right.
there was one really cool thing that I had heard about, like the people outside the courthouse.
Yeah.
That they both sides shared Domino's pizza. Apparently,
Yeah, that was like for a couple minutes, and then it got bad again.
Oh no!
It was like for a few minutes. There was actually hope that it would. But to be fair, there wasn't really bad anything happening after.
No, there wasn't. There
So,
was. Yeah, it was just a bunch of.
I honestly thought it was going to get bad.
I expected it to get nasty too. So
Thankfully, it didn't. So
Yeah.
you know what? I was like, all right, cool. I hope that's the case and that continues
Stays
on.
that way.
And yes, exactly, stays that way. But yeah, I was at home,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you saw this or not. So it was very interesting. I forget who. And obviously, I didn't watch this on the news channel, but it was one of the news channels. I forget if it was like CNN or something like that. It was one of those, right? Mm-hmm. So they showed the prosecution's closing statements, but they didn't show the defense's closing statements.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
they got a little flack from that, But
Yeah.
anyway, so that happened, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever, and we're going through deliberations. I'm like, I wonder if they're ever going to deliberate. And, I watch Louder with Crowder, and they put out a Facebook thing. They're like, the minute they announce that a verdict has been reached, we're going live.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just doing my thing. All of a sudden, I get a YouTube notification. Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, live, Louder with Crowder.
Yeah.
Flipped it on. And so
I watched that at home after.
yeah, so I was watching it live, so they had like the little banner of like starting soon, but in the corner they had like the little CNN like news feed of like them getting ready and everything.
Yeah.
And, Crowder like runs and he's like out
Out
of breath.
of
He's
breath.
like, I just came from across town. I'm like, oh, okay. And just watching that whole group actually as the verdict was read, not guilty on all counts, them just
they were just-
celebrating.
Oh yeah. They
And-
were so happy about that.
I knew as soon as that happened, I was like, well, definitely do not bring this up at work.
Yeah. Yeah. Touchy subject.
Because I know the political leanings of a lot of the people at
Yeah.
work where I was just like,
Not worth it.
I was like, there's no reason to do this. It's just going to cause strife.
Right.
It's just going to
exactly.
cause alienation. And now that being said, and this is where I kind of go back and forth a few times in my own head.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of meetings where I've been in where all of a sudden it's like, oh, and this and this and this. I'm like, You know, if someone from a conservative side was saying anything about it, they would be shot down and yelled at. But because we're so progressive and
Yeah.
drives me nuts. But anyways, there are times when I'm like, do I just keep my mouth shut or do I say something? And
Right. Yeah, that's. Yeah.
but no, so I was the only one I was kind of worried about getting him getting was the gun charge, and then that was dismissed, and then I was like, okay.
It was over.
But
from there.
even before it was dismissed, I had been hearing and then reading about Wisconsin's weird gun laws, and that is his only saving grace in that regard. Is because if he had been in Illinois, that he would still be on the hook for it. But in Wisconsin, because big hunting state, we're not a country yet.
Yeah.
Big hunting state.
Yeah.
You know, we like our guns up here in Wisconsin. You know, he had a little more leniency. The fact that he was around family and friends, and he had a job up in Kenosha, you know, that added way into his favor.
Yeah.
You know, so I was just like, okay, awesome, we're good to go. And what's sad, like I said, is I still see all those lies about him going across state lines. His mother drove him. Blah blah.
Yeah.
I still see them repeated all over Twitter.
Yeah.
All over Twitter.
Oh,
do you want to hear probably the craziest one that I've heard from the news?
Yes.
Okay.
Here we have a 17-year-old kid, underage, said he bought an AR-15 because he thought it was cool. He drove across state, had his mother drive him across state lines. He appointed himself a militia member. He goes around and he ends up unloading, 60 rounds?
That was Joe Scarborough from MSNBC.
Oh my God!
And that is just
60 unloaded 60 rounds.
Yeah. Apparently he doesn't know how many rounds are.
Well, yeah, he doesn't know how many go in a magazine. He never reloaded it. Oh my gosh!
I was just like, oh.
I hope he gets in trouble.
You know he's not.
No, because this was after the fact, though.
Yeah,
like, this is after he was found innocent.
Yeah. He's just funny.
Part
of me wonders though if Scarborough's just giving up all on news and just now thinks of himself as a comedian or something.
Right? Yeah. This is his way of doing sarcasm. Maybe.
Yeah.
Just horribly.
Well, and of course, Babylon Bee, right? They got right in on it.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know if you saw this one.
No.
So you're aware that there's a bunch of in California and even Minnesota, there's people just essentially mobbing stores and robbing them.
Yes.
So here's their headline from Babylon Bee. Clever business owners ward off looters with Kyle Rittenhouse scarecrows. And they have a bunch of scarecrows with a gun in one, scarecrow arm and a Kyle Rittenhouse head on it, all around like a Hobby Lobby or Home Depot.
Oh no!
I was like, oh, of course.
Oh my gosh! That's no, thank you. Oh, Babylon Bee, way to go! Way to do you! My goodness.
Hey, it just.
I really hope he goes after. Well, I hope he does well with going after these news, organizations and stuff like that.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time.
No. Well, I'm thinking about the kid that just had that smirk or the smile on his face.
Nick?
From Washington D.C. or
yeah,
whatever
with person banging the drums from him.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, the face of white supremacy and all that."
Yeah.
Him and Ryan Rittenhouse have already talked on phone.
Oh, for sure, that makes sense.
So
not surprising.
There's the meme going around of Sandman going, I got 250 million from CNN, and then Rittenhouse going, hold my beer.
Watch what happens next.
Yeah, exactly.
It's yeah. I don't know. I hope he goes after him and gets him. But
I have a feeling he will, and I have a feeling he'll probably win a couple of them.
yeah,
Just because of the fact that now, it like I said, it's one thing to report. Okay, Kyle Rittenhouse shot people and was arrested. Blah blah blah. That's one thing, right?
yes,
It's a whole other thing to go. The white supremacist mass murderer shooter Kyle Rittenhouse. That's a whole other conversation, and that's a whole other framing. One is reporting the news. One is editorializing it. I can talk. And it's the latter that gets you in trouble most of the time. If you just report the facts on what happened,
you're fine.
you're fine. They're still going around with the fact that because when he was on bail, he went to the bar, right?
Yeah,
And they're still going. He flashed the white power symbol with the Proud Boy at the bar.
what, the okay sign?
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. That
I can't believe that's still a thing.
that hoax is still around. That the okay sign is white power.
Oh my gosh.
And you know what? And I still laugh because it amazes me how many people fall for that. And it amazes me how many people have this, like, almost like, I am white, therefore I must apologize for everything I do sort of deal.
Yeah.
And all I have to do is go, I'm half Mexican, and all of a sudden I have carte blanche.
You got it all set up for you.
I can do whatever I want. I can say whatever I want, almost. But at the same time, it's like, oh, you're half Mexican? Oh, your opinion is great now. and I've done that experiment on Twitter before, and it blew up in such beautiful ways that I never thought possible, and I just loved it.
Oh my gosh. That's sad.
It is on so many ways and so many reasons, but it was still beautiful at the same time.
For your sake.
So, all right. So Fitchburg State University, right?
Yeah.
It's a university, obviously, college.
Yep.
Did you see the email that they sent to their students after the Rittenhouse verdict?
Maybe not.
I'll read it to you.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
The Center for Diversity and Inclusiveness is creating space for our community to process the quote-unquote not guilty, quote-unquote, on all accounts verdict in the Kenosha, Wisconsin case where Kyle Rittenhouse, an Illinois native, shot and killed two people protesting the wrongful death of Jacob Blake in 2020. So there's a factual statement there, first off. That is false.
Yep.
Jacob Blake wasn't killed.
Nope. He's still alive.
He's still alive, has, I think he's still paralyzed at this point, but he's alive.
Yep.
Here's the next part. I want you to tell me if you can spot the issue. Kyle was acquitted of all charges in the case after driving to Wisconsin with an automatic rifle. What's wrong with that statement there?
Automatic rifle and driving to Wisconsin with it.
Yeah.
Yep. That was one thing that also, just people saying, oh, it's an automatic weapon. Nope.
Oh, they also call it an assault rifle.
Yeah.
Because people don't understand what AR stands for.
Yeah, the Armalite rifle and stuff.
Yep. And it wasn't even an Armalite. It was an Armalite style.
Yeah.
It's an AR styled rifle, not an Armalite. And people just go, AR, that's assault rifle or automatic rifle or
automatic rifle
or the kill me softly rifle or the kill me deadly rifle or the it only kills rifle or you don't need that for hunting rifle or the you don't need that for home defense rifle or you don't need that rifle or you don't really want to have that rifle or the blah 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 blah.
That was another thing that the prosecution was going on about with the standoff with Kyle, well, not standoff, but with Kyle and Gage, the guy that had the handgun, because he's like, you have a rifle, he just has a handgun.
They're both guns.
It's like, so when he is in like close to him, I mean, a handgun's much more threatening than a rifle in close quarters.
Yeah.
So to have this thing is like, what kind of threat can he pose on you when you've got a rifle and he just has a handgun? Ugh, people are stupid. Or maybe he's not stupid. He's just trying to make that as an argument because people might not realize that.
He's an experienced attorney. He knows what he knows he can get away with.
Yeah.
Or he thinks he knows what he can get away
Yeah,
with.
he did not do a good job. Sorry.
He knows if you're going to go into something that's been excluded in a pretrial order, you better ask the court, you better get permission. This is ridiculous.
It wasn't excluded, Your Honor.
You know why it was excluded in the first place? Because it was propensity evidence. That is exactly what 90404 is designed to prevent. You're talking about his attitudes. His attitude is he wants to shoot people. Now, I've admitted that kind of evidence in other trials when it's been appropriate. I didn't admit it in this case because, to me, what I've heard in this trial, and by the way, Mr. Richards absolutely correctly points out that just hours ago, I said I had heard nothing in this trial to change any of my rulings. So why?
Testimony, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
That was before the defense
Don't
testimony.
get brazen with me. You knew very well. You know very well that an attorney can't go into these types of areas when the judge has already ruled without asking outside the presence of the jury to do so. So don't give me that. That's number one.
So he is an experienced attorney, even though there were some blunders going on at the time that maybe made it seem like not so much. And he got yelled at by the judge more than once.
Oh yeah, he had a few good yellings at.
Did you catch the other one that he got yelled at about?
Where
he started questioning Rittenhouse about his silence before the trial.
Yes.
With what Mr. Richards has said about the progress of the trial, and when you were I said you were over the line close to or over the line on commenting on the defendant's pretrial silence, which is a well-known rule. I'm astonished that would have been an issue. So I don't want to have another issue as long as this case continues. Is that clear?
It is.
Thank you. Ask the jury to come back in, please.
Jeez.
He just kind of goes right into him. It's just like, ooh, buddy.
Yeah.
Multiple times, and just like, all right.
See, I wonder, what round? I'm sure it was probably just a 2-2-3 for Kyle's round or whatever. But it's like the people that say like you don't need that for hunting. People hunt with rounds that are much more powerful and deadly than what Kyle had for his assault rifle, as they call it. Because even just my M1A, I mean it has a bigger round than when he was having that night. So what he had in Kenosha. So I found that because I remember I'm sure you've seen it, but like when the Crowder team just like brought out a bunch of like guns and rifles and stuff like that out for the public to look at, and they're like having them decide or have them pick what gun seems like the most dangerous,
right,
of all of them. And it's all the ones that have the military kind of look to it. It's the ARs or whatever, and everybody went to those and were like, oh, these, we don't need these. But the good old, old-fashioned wooden, stock and, wooden hunting rifle that's, got bolt action or whatever. Like, oh, well, yeah, that's fine. But it's like one thing you don't know is that gun will do a whole lot more damage than any of these little guns over here would do that you claim are more scary.
Right.
So, it's just, it's a lack of education on firearms.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
Did they ever used to teach any kind of firearm stuff in any schooling, like at all, or no?
It wouldn't surprise me in Wisconsin, at least.
Okay, because I almost wish that would be a subject in schools to teach about, just so you actually know what it is you're dealing with, or at least teach safety for it.
Yeah,
because I don't know. I mean, I know there's probably had to have been many, careless incidences where people have died from lack of firearm safety, with that being with kids or even adults make mistakes with them if they're careless. I always love the one where there's a guy doing he was like a firearm safety instructor or whatever, but then he pointed the gun at the floor, shot it, and there was actually a round in there because he was going to demonstrate that it was empty, but then unloaded a bullet into his foot. Oops. So, stuff like that.
Man, could you imagine if someone left a round in the gun that the prosecutor used and pointed at the jury with his finger on the trigger?
On the trigger. And that was one thing I always thought was funny too. Well, not funny, but it was, when you see the footage of Kyle running around, his finger is never on the trigger.
It's
always outside of it.
He had good trigger discipline.
He did.
He had his finger not on it and everything, which I think actually surprised a lot of people on that one. They're like, wait a minute, that he didn't do that? What?
Yeah. Oh, right.
And instead it was, no. He couldn't have done that. He couldn't have done something right.
He shot people, for goodness sakes. Of course he messed up with that. But yeah, I feel like it would be good to have firearm classes, or at least, firearm safety classes still taught, if there has been in the past. Because I guess you never know, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, yeah. They're out there. Gotta know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Be careful with them.
Yep. And listening back to some of the things from the trial, you just have to wonder, what was going through their head when they asked this question. So, because, okay, what goes through your head, A, when you put your finger on the trigger? Obviously, either A, you're not trained, or B, you're just being an idiot. But then when do you ask questions like, why did you run from the fire?
But you decided you needed to run because of the fire in the Duramax?
Yes.
Why? What was so urgent?
It was a fire.
Why did you feel that you should go around off the 59th Street Car Source property and put out fires?
To make sure my community didn't get burnt down and help.
And when you say your community, you mean Kenosha?
Yes.
Again, you're from Antioch. You're not living in Kenosha at this time when this all happens, right?
My dad lives in Kenosha.
You would think as a prosecutor that you would, have all this, so that way some of these answers wouldn't be surprised. But I think the most surprising was because it was on fire.
I loved how they tried to bring video games into it as well for Call of Duty and stuff. That's a game where you shoot people and stuff.
And try to blame that on that. Something else I also think that came up that was interesting, that I think helped Rittenhouse. I'll just let you listen to it.
The only people that he fired at were people that had either kicked him, hit him with something, or pulled a gun on him when he's running down Sheridan Road, right?
I would agree with that statement.
Kind of sums it up for itself.
Yeah, I know. And it's just yes, I agree with that statement. And just oh, wait. You mean he wasn't just a mass shooter that went out to shoot for giggles and jollies? And
I hate to say this, but I mean, most likely it would be true. Because if he is out just to be a mass shooter, the fact that he shot the three people he did in the way that he did, with it being that, close and that, with that small of an instance, if he was actually trying to go out and shoot people, there'd be a lot more people dead.
Right. I agree.
So, yeah, I feel like you can't. Yep. I don't know. That's just what I think.
Okay.
That's my thought on that.
So you're glad that Rittenhouse got acquitted.
Yeah.
You're full on the self-defense train. Mm-hmm. Full on all that. Do you have a question for you then?
No.
Why are you going? No.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I'm scared now.
Did you watch and or listen and or read anything about the interview he did with what was it, Tucker Carlson?
I know. I only watched a little bit of it, which was weird because I thought I didn't look into this, but I thought I had seen something where it was saying that Kyle didn't approve of some of Tucker's people, like, I guess, following him or like questioning him about stuff. I don't know, but I mean, I guess in the end he did an interview with Tucker anyways. Mm-hmm. But the main part, which I don't even remember what Kyle said now at this point, because I just wanted to hear it now. I forgot it, but it was his message for Biden kind of thing.
Okay.
Because, I mean, right at the get-go, Biden was already, once it happened, was clearly against him and making his own judgments before obviously the evidence was brought forth.
Right.
So that was the only part I watched of the Tucker Carlson.
Okay. I didn't think that was like the big like weird bombshell that dropped.
Oh, no. I just saw it like the title, the headline was like, Kyle's like, message to Biden or whatever. Oh. And it was that was just like the headline of a video that I had seen. I was like, oh, well, okay.
Interesting, because that wasn't even like what was in the teaser that dropped.
For the stuff that, when Tucker was showing.
So the teaser that dropped for the interview was Rittenhouse, and I'm just going to read you the quote. It says, "I'm not a racist person. Yeah. I support the BLM movement."
Yeah, he said that he thinks there needs to be change.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't. Yeah, well, I remember that, him saying that.
You do remember or don't?
I do remember him saying that.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember what he said his message for Biden was, but that was one thing I thought, was interesting. I was like, one, I didn't know that he was,
the fact that white supremacists roam the halls of Congress freely and celebrate this little murderous white supremacist, and the fact that he gets to walk the streets freely, it lets you know these people have access to instituting laws.
Kyle. Sorry, I loaded a webpage and that just started playing, and I was like, wow. Okay.
All right.
Anyways.
Woo!
But anyway, so Rittenhouse comes out and says, I support BLM, right? And then BLM responds. The little racist/terrorist Kyle Rittenhouse represents the exact kind of white supremacist vigilante violence that we've seen before with the acquittal of George Zimmerman in the murder of Trayvon Martin. It brought us into the streets more than 8 years ago and birthed Black Lives Matter. Today is another reminder that we're far from achieving our abolitionist future. But rest assured, we will get there. We will win. End white supremacy. In other words, they want nothing to do with him, but he's like, oh, I support them. He goes, yeah, no.
That's crazy.
And then they also responded with, Alexa, play I Don't F With You in a GIF with the acronym IDFWU.
Wow. I guess that's not surprising by any means, but wow. Gosh, if I were Kyle, I wouldn't say I support them. Shoot.
Well, they
don't want to have anything to do with him.
They've done all sorts of questionable things.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying the movement itself, like their founder, who just built like a wall around their mansion.
Oh my gosh. Hey, walls aren't walls like not something to have? Like those are racist, aren't they?
Exactly. That was the point. The walls are supposed to be racist and evil, and she just built a wall around her like $1.something million mansion. That's
freaking ridiculous.
That was a laughing point for me. And I was just like, okay, come on, that's ridiculous. But getting back to the trial, watching it through everything, just seeing how it is, I was like, I'm glad the trial's over. I'm glad it ended the way it did. Now let's just see how things go. And, it's not going to be easy for Rittenhouse from here on out.
No.
So
after him.
So apparently he was attending Arizona State University through online schooling, and they're going to hold a rally on the 1st of December to get him kicked out of the school because they're like, we don't want him here.
No, I don't.
Even though he's attending virtually.
Oh my gosh. This is where I don't know. I really feel like people are. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, so their demands that they released, the students released the following demands: withdraw Kyle Rittenhouse from ASU, in other words, kick him out. Release a statement against white supremacy and racist murderer Kyle Rittenhouse. Reaffirm support for the Multicultural Center on campus as a space safe from white supremacy. Redirect funding from ASU PD to support the Multicultural Center and establishment of a care center on campus. That's CAARE. Even with a not guilty verdict from a flawed justice system, Kyle Rittenhouse is still guilty to his victims and the families of those victims.
Nope.
Join us to demand from ASU that these demands be met to protect students from a violent, bloodthirsty murderer.
Nope.
Do you want to know the groups that are supporting this?
Sure.
Student groups like the MECA, Movimiento Estudiantil Centralizatan, in other words, whatever.
What?
Students for Socialism.
Oh.
Students for Justice in Palestine. The Multicultural Solidarity Coalition. They are the ones supporting this in a rally this week to get murderer Kyle Rittenhouse off the campus, and that's in quotes. Yeah. So that's what they're wanting to do. That was so December 1st at 3:30 p.m. They're going to have their little protest rally march.
Curious as to how big it's going to be.
Well, the first question is how many students go to that university, and I don't know that.
Right.
So
I wonder how big, or how big these groups are within that school.
So the Movimiento Estudiante Chicano de Azitan, right? The Chicano student movement Azitan, or ancestral home of the Aztec people. So that's what that is. So Mexicanos, or as the woke like to call them, the Latinx.
The Kleenex.
Yeah,
the Kleenex. Oh.
Sorry, I was thinking about that the other day. Here's why. Okay. Follow my brain here for this. That will probably get me canceled. Latino, Latina, Latinx, right?
Yeah.
What are stereotypically people of Mexican descent doing in like TV shows and movies? We're cleaners. We're a Kleenex.
Oh no!
That's how my brain jumped through that and came to that conclusion.
You're about to put the Kleenex out of business, man.
I know. A Mexican for every nose. It will be spotless all winter long.
All the time.
I could say that because I am half Mexican.
Yeah, you got the genes for it.
But that's literally where my brain went. Like, I was like, Latinx, we clean Kleenex.
I love that.
And I was like, oh, if I said that out loud at work or something, I would get like such dirty looks.
That's amazing. That's a great joke.
That wasn't a joke. That was in my mind how it went. That's how it processed. Like, that's exactly how my mind processed that. It was like, oh yeah, Mexicans, Latinx, we like to clean. We're Kleenex.
Kleenex. I'm never going to forget that.
I was like, you want to call us Latinx? Then I'm going to call us Kleenex. And that's just how it is.
That's just what it be.
That's just what it is.
Oh.
And, you know, it's one of those things of like, you know, in the music industry, only if you're black can you say the N-word, right? You know?
Yeah.
This is the same thing. You can only say Kleenex if you're Latinx.
Well, I mean, clearly that's not the case, though, because, I mean, Rosenbaum was able to say what he wanted to say. Nobody went after him about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, ask him how that's going for him.
Yeah. Well, not so well.
Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, lovely times. Lovely times. No, I'm glad it's done. I'm glad there hasn't been more damage in Kenosha. Because I was pretty nervous about that happening. Also for a while though, I was thinking I thought the Kyle was just gonna be told he was guilty, mainly because of just how long it was taking to get a verdict. I was kind of getting suspicious of them just being, maybe in the sense, I was thinking of it as, you know, they would do it for the greater good kind of thing.
Right.
Where it's like, if we just, you know, this one kid goes away in the jail and stuff, at least, you know, we for sure know that, you know, Kenosha won't go through more ruins, because if we give him, that whole thing. But so in that aspect, I was a little shocked about the whole innocent verdict, especially across all of them. But I mean, yeah, woo, yeah.
So you know what's funny? Rittenhouse can call himself a Kleenex.
Yeah, he's part Mexican, isn't he?
That's what I was reading, and I was just double checking on some things. He apparently does have some Latino blood in him. Yeah. Congratulations. See,
so
even a Latino could defeat a jail term.
I
should tell that to my cousin. Maybe he'll get hope one day.
I'll let you do that one. I ain't getting in the middle. I'm a peacemaker, remember?
You're also white.
I am also, yes.
You're a gringo.
Very much so.
So now anytime someone goes, Kyle was a white supremacist, we go, no. He was a Hispanic supremacist.
He was, yeah.
And just watch her face go, what?
Yeah, he's got some Hispanic blood.
Of course, depending on who you talk to, Mexicans are white supremacists still because we have whiteness in us. Yeah, I know. But there's a whole weird thing in Mexico where it's like, if you're too white, you're shunned.
Yeah.
If your skin is too fair, you're shunned, essentially.
Wow.
But if your skin is too dark, you're shunned too.
You just got to be that right color.
Yes, you got to be that right brown.
Yeah.
There's also a whole thing of like, it's weird. Hispanics, we're weird people.
Yeah, I mean, we all are.
We're racist against whites. We're racist against black people. We're racist against everyone but Hispanics.
Really?
Yep. Welcome to the world of Mexican.
Nice.
So yeah, it's just like,
fun times all around.
But that being said, and this is me looking on the, from the outside in, before reading any of the things about the case of Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
I never once thought it was about race.
No.
I never once thought that, even though, I knew that there were riots going on at the time. It never once crossed my mind, it was a shooting case, because some people were and this was before I even knew who the victims were. I just knew at this point 3 people were shot. I didn't know who they were. Didn't know white, black, anything. I didn't hear the judge's racist, and I'm putting this in quotes, joke that he said about the Asian food. Did you hear that one?
Oh, it was something about it waiting.
Maybe it's on the ships out west, still waiting to get off the ships. You know, and people, you know, were like, "Oh, he's racist," or because his ringtone played "God Bless America," that, you know, all this stuff.
Or was I'm proud to be an American?
Or I'm proud to be American. Yeah, you know, stuff like that. And they're like, I'll get to him in a second. But none of that even crossed my mind in the fact, you know, it really was the fact of, okay, he shot 3 people. If my first question was, why?
Right.
Was he being attacked or was he being the aggressor?
Yeah.
It comes down to that.
Right.
It doesn't come down to the color of your skin, you know, how much melanin you have in there. Because the amount of melanin you have in your skin does not determine how you act. I'm sorry. That is old-timey hocus-pocus stuff. That's not true. Mm-hmm. And it's also not true then that you're targeting more and the people go, but there's systemic racism. Then maybe learn to stop. And I had an issue with this with Salvation Army too in their documentation. They pulled it down since then because a lot of backfire. You know, people go, "Oh, if you say you're colorblind, you're racist." I'm like, no, you're trying not to see the distinction between the difference between it. You can still celebrate a person's culture without having to see the color of their skin. Mm-hmm. You can still celebrate, you know, where they're from, what they do, without having to be concerned about how much melanin they do or do not have in their skin. Because let me tell you what difference is it between a white person from Africa who's albino, or a person from China who's albino? Your heritage is different, yes. But beyond that, it's how much melanin do you have or not have. Mm-hmm. And that's what came down to me from the very beginning on this with Rittenhouse case. It was, he shot 3 people. I don't care about, you know, melanin, non-melanin. It's what was the cause of the shooting? Was it he was the aggressor, or was it he was acting in self-defense? Was he the one chasing, or was he the one being chased? Mm-hmm. It's not like the prosecutor said where, oh, you bring a gun and you lose your right to self-defense. No, it's someone coming to beat your head in with a skateboard. That's self-defense. Someone trying to wrestle a gun away from you. That's self-defense. Someone pointing a gun at you. That's self-defense. Mm-hmm. As much as people don't like to hear that. And it's and well, there's already people calling like, oh, we need to change the self-defense laws in America. And like, no. You already tried changing the laws in America where like under 1,000 you don't prosecute for theft and burglary in stores. And look what's happening. You're having flash mobs stealing stuff from stores now. Brazenly just stealing. You have stores that I have seen around here now saying, due to unfortunate circumstances, we're closing at 11 p.m. and we're no longer, like, you know, convenience stores, you know, saying we're no longer going to be open all night because of thefts. Mm-hmm. And that's just up by me in Franklin.
Really? Wow.
You know? So you can't tell me that it's all about the amount of melanin in your skin. Because if it's all about the melanin in your skin, and that determines how you act, if the person who did the killing is justified or not, if the person who was killed was justified or not, then that's racism. Mm-hmm. And people go, oh, but there's no reverse racism in the world. You can't have reverse racism if your skin's not white. Oh, bull crap. Don't give me that. That is still racism. I'm sorry. And the fact is, you are starting to hear, or at least me, I'm starting to hear more and more people. Okay, this is going to sound weird. There's more and more people who have melanin in their skin. The melanated are uniting, I should say, where more people are calling out this bullcrap and saying you can be racist even if you have a ton of melanin. Yeah. Trust me, I've seen it from Mexicans. I know Mexicans can be racist. I know every race can be racist. Every person can be racist. You know why? Because every person is a sinful, fallen human being who is selfish and has their own desires and their own prejudices. It doesn't matter, even if it's against someone of their own quote-unquote race, which is technically a culture, not a race. We are the human race, not African race, European race, Asian race, Russian race, Mexican race. No, we're Mexican culture, Russian culture, African culture. And in Africa, there's a ton of different cultures, not just one unified grand scheme of cultures. Same with Europe and in that too. So the next time I hear someone say, "Oh, someone say, oh, there's so and so is racist," I'm going to be like, no. They're culturalists. They don't like they don't like the person from that culture.
Yeah.
You got it 100% wrong, and then go, what? But human race, different culture. Yeah, you may not like it. So what?
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean just because you don't like someone's culture that gives you any right to treat them wrong or, shoot them or anything like that.
Right.
But at the same time, context and truth in how the thing is talked about matters. Who chased who is the biggest thing right there in front of you that you could see. Who's running away from who? And it was interesting. And here's my guess. If the jury had come back with any of those charges of guilty, I bet you the judge would have tossed them out anyway. Because you saw what happened with the video, right? The prosecution had a nice, high-quality video. They sent it via text message to the defense.
So they had a horrible pixelated whatever.
Well, do you know why that happened?
It was...
The prosecution had an iPhone. They sent it to someone with an Android. What happens when you send iPhone to Android? It compresses it because it has to send it over MMS. MMS has an upper limit on how large that file can be. Therefore, it degrades the quality and makes it blurry.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that the defense did probably got them in...
The prosecution?
Or the prosecution did, yeah, sorry. Prosecution did probably got them more than a little trouble at times.
What was... I thought near the end there was a photograph that was added into evidence during the whole verdict thing, where it was just a still image of what looked like Kyle was aiming his rifle, but it was, instead of him, because he was right-handed shooter, in the image it showed how it looked, he'd been shooting left-handed. And I guess from watching it from Crowder's stream, from how I understood it, that image that was taken that they were showing was supposed to have been right before Rosenbaum started chasing Kyle in the parking lot. Which, yeah, and again, from the sound of it and how it seemed like it went about, like it was introduced as new evidence. And the defense didn't have a chance to say anything against it, which I thought was
I'm not 100%. That is one of the days where I wasn't watching, so I cannot talk on that one because I don't know 100% on what that. I remember hearing now, and here's okay. I'm going to be honest here. I remember hearing some stuff about that from Tim Cass, but if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Tim has gone so full of himself recently that it's gone worse than listening to his co-hosts.
Really? Oh no!
Because he cannot stand it if someone else is talking and he's not talking. Essentially, is what it feels like.
Oh,
no. If the guest starts talking and doesn't give it back to Tim within a little bit of time, like Tim goes, no, you have to listen. No, I'm gonna go. No, listen, and it just I'm like.
Oh no!
I was like,
that's not good.
I was like, I'd rather listen to Ian than this right now.
No. Gosh, sometimes I almost feel bad for Ian at times because he just gets roasted by the chat. When I've looked at it at times, I'm just like, oof, buddy.
Yeah, and there are just times I was like, I'm just sitting there going, Tim, calm down, buddy.
Take it easy.
People know that you're here. You're okay. I have a feeling you're suffering from little man syndrome. Where he just has to know that he's, he has to make everyone aware that he's there. And, people are trying to make a point, and he's like, no, listen. I'm like, shut up, Tim. Let your guest that you brought on make a point instead of you trying to talk over them. And I literally hit the dislike button, turn it off, and I leave that stream, and I'm like, nope.
I'm done.
I'm done. I'm not going to listen to this crap if he's just going to sit there and talk over all of his guests all the time. So
yeah, I mean, that is rather disrespectful. Come on, Tim.
So
if you hear this, come on.
So if they talked about that little piece on one of the streams, well, I had to stop listening before they got to that, because I remember Tim started going on a rant about how they allowed CGI, the judge allowed CGI as evidence, blah, blah, and I was like, oh, interesting. But I haven't heard anything else other than Tim call it CGI, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Wait, I
don't know if it's the image or...
Because from what they said in Crowder, it was... they had made the image, tried to make it more clear using software, but then in the manual for the software saying if this is a piece of key evidence, it should not be used. It should not be used as a serious piece of evidence had it been edited with the software because of possibility of tampering with evidence.
Yeah, and anytime, okay, yeah, that was a whole other thing. I will say this. Mm-hmm. I disagreed with the defense on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they were trying to play a video at one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And essentially the prosecutor's like, okay, I'm going to pinch to zoom. You know what that is, right? You do it all the time on your phones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the defense is like, well, how do we know that's not inserting new data into the video? I'm like, okay. I was like, this is where I disagree with the defense. I was like, this is showing the age of the lawyers all around. It's like, oh, okay, these are old school lawyers. Okay.
Yeah.
Now on like a pinch to zoom thing, I would have been like, no, come on, yeah. Right. That being said, what you're talking about right there, if that is the case,
yeah. It was supposed to be an enhanced photo.
Yeah, so
for clarity purposes.
Yeah, so we would have to look at what I haven't seen that bit from Crowder, just because again that was probably the day that I missed a bunch of stuff.
Probably, yeah.
So I cannot speak on that, but if it was manipulated with a piece of evidence, or if evidence was manipulated with a piece of software that says do not use this in court, blah blah blah, and he had been found guilty on something, that would have been attacked in an appeal.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been used as one of the key things in the appeal to get it overturned. So I'm not, the fact that it is what it is, I'm okay with it now.
Yeah.
That being said, he can still be sued in civil court.
Yeah.
So we might have Rittenhouse parts 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, who knows, whatever, regarding this still. So
right.
I don't know.
It might not be the end.
But like I said, overall, I have to say I'm not happy, but I'm content with the ruling. I'm not going to be like Crowder and them where they were like swearing and like throwing papers up in the air and celebrating everything, because there was a loss of life.
Right, and
But I am happy from the point of it solidified self-defense.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, I don't know, I can't speak for them, I guess, but that's kind of what I figured that they were the most excited about as far as seeing the verdict turn that way, because I know they're like Crowder the whole time was leading it up like this is a huge like this will be a massive like turning point on whether you have a right to self-defense or not in future cases, depending on how that verdict played out like that.
Yeah,
and I know they're definitely happy for the kid for sure, but yeah, and
I know they've already offered to have him on the show and all that.
Yeah, they did. But I know he said something about like taking time. Like, let Kyle do what he wants. If he wants to take a break, but he's always welcome to come up on the show.
Oh, yeah. they've already been in contact. I mean, the kid hasn't wasted any time. I mean, what? He was just already photographed at Mar-a-Lago.
Oh no,
with Trump.
Oh really?
Yeah, he had Trump's phone number and
oh my gosh.
And got in contact with him and was invited over to go meet him. And yeah, that just happened this past week.
Wow.
So he's already gone and visited Trump and taken photos with him and all that. So
he's on a little joyous time.
So
maybe.
So yeah, that'll be interesting. So yeah, that was reported on the 24th, so day before Thanksgiving, that he met up with them at Mar-a-Lago.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's both of them in suits, smiling with thumbs up.
Nice. Yeah, I wonder if Biden will have him over at all.
Yeah, so this is what Trump told Hannity. Kyle, I got to know him a little bit. He called. He wanted to know if he could come over and say hello because he was a fan, unlike the other guy.
Dang.
Yeah, so Trump said Rittenhouse visited with his mother and the two left the former president's Florida resort a little while ago.
Wow.
That was reported on Wednesday, so that was probably Tuesday, Monday. They probably went over there. But,
yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he was busy.
Yeah. He's got a long road ahead of him.
Well, he does because and unfortunately for Kyle, it's going to be tainted. The rest of his life, whether that's job, schooling, whatever, is going to be tainted by this, and that will form an opinion. Honestly, he's not going to have a normal career like most people. Honestly, he's probably going to become a politician.
Yeah, I can see that. That was because I know he had talked about how he wants to be a nurse, but I wonder. Well, going to school. I'm sure there'll be some school to accept him, but.
Well, they're even saying if he goes to school on campus, he's going to have
security
with him, which is going to get expensive over time.
Unless he just does online.
Well,
as much as he can.
Yeah, but he wants to go to be present on campus. So now that being said,
kiss the money goodbye. You went from.
Well, no. Well, here's the thing. After the acquittal, right?
Mm-hmm.
GoFundMe reinstated all the fundraiser support.
Wow.
So GoFundMe, okay, to their credit, right? If you are accused of a crime, it doesn't matter if they like your crime, you or not. If you're accused of a crime, you're prosecuted, your thing is terminated. And then if you're acquitted, your fundraiser on GoFundMe is acquitted. And then if you're acquitted, then they can be reinstated and reopened. So like the Waukesha guy, the guy who just ran through a bunch of people down a Christmas parade in Waukesha, immediately after it happened, some people tried to open up a GoFundMe for his bail. It was like $5 million, something like that. But as soon as GoFundMe was alerted to the fact that he was charged, they shut it down. So I'll give them that. They at least shut his GoFundMe down. Mm-hmm. Obviously they're not perfect, but a big skill case, you would figure they would know who it is.
Right. What happened with well, I guess he wasn't charged with anything. I'll say with Jacob Blake though. Yeah, because they had that GoFundMe for him, and I thought it did really well. Now, granted, he was the one that was shot by the cops,
right?
But he also had stuff out against him.
Yeah, there's some weird things it's not they're not perfect.
No, I'm saying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think at that moment, he wasn't charged with a crime in that instant, was he? He was just being a disturbance, from what I remember. And the police were coming to stop him or take him. But, I guess that would be... what he did would have been a crime.
Yeah.
But then he just got shot
for
how he acted. Yeah.
There might be some weird things where, if he's convicted, but because he was shot and they're raising it for his medical bills, they might allow it.
Right.
But, for his bail, they're not going to allow it.
Yeah, no.
those sort of things. But that's all I'm going for. But I'll at least say they at least did reinstate Rittenhouse's
That's good.
things, so he could do the fundraising through GoFundMe, and I guarantee you people have been donating.
Without a doubt.
Because, yeah, there's just some things, and I'll admit there have been people that I have known through this whole process. One guy I know in particular, when the acquittal came down, he's like, "We can do better, America." And I had to stop myself from responding, going, "We did. We just acquitted
we
an
just
innocent
did
man."
do better.
But I was like, no, I'm going to refrain myself because I don't want to start.
It's going to cause a battle.
Controversy right there on that online where it's all through text and you can't use words to convey what you really mean.
Yeah.
But no, I think America, we did the right thing. I think we acquitted the right person. I think it was self-defense. I think it was not done with malice or intent of malice or with forethought. From what I can see, and the evidence that I've seen, that's been presented to everyone else that has actually changed people's minds on this whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing, I think we got the right verdict. And it's obvious the stuff we were told initially was a lie. And I will be happy to see how that filters down through the rest of society as we continue on, as people go, can I really trust what I'm being told? Because I can look back at the Rittenhouse case. That was all a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments from you, Johnson?
I agree with what you just said.
All right. Well, remember, Johnson, never lie to the court and never bring evidence in, otherwise you'll have an angry judge being disappointed with you.
Or bring a gun with me.
Yeah.
To a fist fight.
Remember, taking a gun takes away your self-defense rights.